Greetings and welcome to LGR Oddware. We're taking a look at hardware and software that is odd, forgotten, and obsolete. And this time it is the Keytech Magic Touch, a touchscreen adapter for your CRT displays. Yeah, this is from the early to mid 90s, and it is a panel that plugs into your computer via the serial port, in this case, and turns your CRT or whatever display you have into a full touchscreen one. I'm really curious how well this works because I've used the dedicated CRT touchscreens, covered one of those before here in LGR Oddware, but this just kind of clipping onto the front, let's just see how it works. I got the Magic Touch by Keytech, introduced at the 1994 Summer CES Consumer Electronics Show in Chicago, with this example being sent to me from LGR viewer Robert, who was lucky enough to find it thrifting one day, so thanks for picking it up and sending it in. And yeah, the Magic Touch was initially for Windows and DOS PCs, although ADB Macintosh versions were very soon after that, it seems. And suggested retail price was $150 in 1994, at least according to a couple of articles that I found about it in old magazines, and it was updated and sold throughout the 90s. The price went down, it eventually became a USB thing, and even into the late 2000s it just kept being sold in different versions, as seen in this promo video uploaded to YouTube in 2009, showing so many different use cases for it, a lot of retail and education and industrial business usage, and actually some amazing stock music that I'd love to play more of, but it gets hit with a Content ID claim. What a bummer. Such great corporate businessy vibes, and yeah, these things were mainly aimed at businesses. They didn't do a whole lot of advertising in terms of the consumer applications for this, and very few reviews in consumer periodicals. Mostly I just see ads for it every so often in the back of mid-90s PC magazines, a lot of times saying that, oh yeah, you should come to this convention and check it out in person, and you know, it makes sense. It's one of those things where you need to get hands-on. Though yeah, there were some reviews, and the ones I found actually gave it positive coverage overall, though they did say that the touch sensitivity took a bit of getting used to, and also wished that a regular mouse could be used alongside it. Apparently you can't use them both at once. It also mentioned that you don't have to continually use your fingers. You actually got a stylus in the box originally. Yeah, as far as I can tell, this version of the Magic Touch uses a resistive 4 or 5 wire interface, like a kind of a membrane that is in between the panes of glass on the add-on, with a whole bunch of effectively invisible little pressure points or dots along the X and Y axis, and whenever things are pushed down with the 50 to 120 grams per square centimeter on that little membrane that's in there between the glass, then that is how it detects input. And also, the Magic Touch was not the only option for converting your screen to touch. You know, there's things like the Edmark Touch window from the late 80s. It was quite similar. It was designed initially for the Apple II, I think, but then the Macintosh and PC versions came along at some point. Not to mention CRTs with touchscreens built in. I've covered one of those from IBM, and those were wildly expensive, so adding something like this to your existing screen made a lot of sense. As for Keytech themselves, they were founded in 1987 in Richardson, Texas, which is a northeast inner suburb of Dallas. Actually just a stone's throw away from the University of Texas and what was Computer Reset, is that same general part of town. And they did business there for a good 30 years. But the company ceased operations in December of 2017, relaunching under a new brand though, Tyco Touch. And they are still going, still in Texas, selling touch solutions for, quote, hospitals, schools, kiosks, interactive retail displays, industrial use, and business offices, including monitors and TVs up to 98 inches now, and even custom touch frames up to 130 inches big. If you want a home theater touchscreen, I guess you can do that. And yeah, this puts us in sort of a weird category because clearly they're still making new ones that don't qualify for oddware. They're not obsolete, and among their clientele, certainly not forgotten. But you know the one we've got here? It's 32 years old. It is odd, forgotten, and obsolete, so let's unbox this one. Let's see what it does. And yeah, inside the box here appears to be pretty much everything it would have originally come with, and mostly unused. We've got a little baggie here with some screws and adhesive materials. Another bag full of paperwork, including the registration card to send back to Richardson, Texas. An installation manual split up into two little parts. So one for just the hardware and then the other for the drivers. On the topic of drivers, we have a couple of them here, some for Windows 9X and also for NT 4.0. I've gone ahead and backed these up on Internet Archive in case anyone wants them. And yeah, just a few more items in here. So we have some little clips that'll screw in presumably to the Magic Touch itself and then Velcro to the CRT. And then the Magic Touch Pro E box. It's just a serial connection on one end and RJ11 on the other. And I think they would just swap these out depending on which kind of system you have, you know, PC, Macintosh, or even something more exotic. And the only other thing in there is the Magic Touch window thing itself. And it is still in what I assume is its original packaging. Doesn't look like it's ever been opened up. Yeah, that thing is looking pristine, so very clean, and a RJ11 there again for connecting to the little Pro E box. So I'm sure you could use this same display on other systems. And yeah, that is all we got in here. I guess it's pretty complete. The only thing I'm missing is maybe the stylus that the one review said it came with originally. And we go ahead and get this plugged into itself and then plugged into a computer and try it out. See if we can get this oddity working. Well, all right, I went ahead and got the thing plugged in and the drivers installed for Windows 98, and it is working just fine. It turns out it's actually a plug-and-play detectable device. So Windows 98 saw what it was immediately, it just had to provide the driver disk, and that was that. So that's good. However, I was looking around online, and while these are nice to have here, these versions of the drivers for these operating systems, this touchwindow.com website has a lot of other drivers for a lot of other systems and other devices, but in particular, the Magic Touch is listed, and there's some for Windows 3 and MS-DOS as well. So I'd like to try DOS in particular. That'd be fun. And yeah, I haven't bothered with mounting this or anything yet because it is, of course, the wrong size. 17-inch CRT here, and this particular Magic Touch is made for 13 to 15 inches, so it doesn't quite match up one-to-one with what you're tapping around and doing on here. So let's go find a more suitable monitor to actually physically attach it to. Yeah, over into the LGR warehouse. And I'm still very much in the process of getting everything out of storage and just finding spots that are sort of grouping things together on the shelves here. So it's not all organized how I want. But we do have a few contenders for something suitable. 15-inch, even 13s would work just fine, but I would rather have something a little bit closer. And these 15s, yeah, that's great. So either this one or this one, those are the two that I was thinking. This one seems to maybe fit the color and shape a little bit better, but it's a little bit of a tired, worn out thing. It's not as bright as it used to be. This one though was new old stock when I got it, and last time I was using it, it was still amazing. There was this Pixie brand thing with the rock climber on the box. I did an unboxing on Blurbs a long time ago. Company name I'd never heard of, but the monitor looked fantastic. All right, getting it attached was relatively simple. The adhesive is still holding very tightly. However, my word, does this add a lot of reflectivity to anything. I mean, this is really reflective, even with my filter that I normally use, which is a circular polarizer. Like if you look at the desk right back there, you can see that it reduces all kinds of reflections, including those for glass, but it only does so much here. I mean, it's just gonna be a reflective thingy no matter what. So that's an unfortunate side effect of adding this, but it's working. And no, it is not capacitive. This does need some pressure, not much, but just a bit. So I can see why they definitely recommend or included a stylus, but obviously you can see it is not working correctly, so we need to configure it with Touch Panel 232. You can adjust your kind of regular mouse stuff, and no, the normal mouse doesn't work. I had to unplug it for this to even be recognized, which is another disadvantage here. Although you may notice this on the box, it does explicitly say that the mouse can be used simultaneously. It says so, multiple places. So what's going on? Well, I have a theory, because the 1994 review of the serial version that I have, it says that it didn't work simultaneously with their mouse. But this is clearly a later one because it mentions Windows 98 and USB, as being options, you know? So maybe by the time this one came around, they had fixed it, but then they just updated the packaging for, like, say if you had a USB version, I'm sure a USB mouse would also work with it just fine. I don't know, maybe there's some discrepancy going on. Either way, I haven't got the mouse to work with this. Anyway, let's just go straight to calibration before we do any of this other stuff. So, well, it's definitely closer to what I want. So yeah, we have these different options down here. This is still a little bit off. Swap left and right, which means clicking will presumably, yeah, do things like that. And so there is no way to do that other than manually switching between that through software. Anytime you want to do a left and right click. This lift off mode is interesting sounding. Yeah, I just need to calibrate it again, but yeah, lift off, see is right here, it's just holding down whenever you're holding your finger to the screen. And then this way, it's not. It doesn't actually click until you let go. I think I like that better. I don't know. We'll try both ways as we need to. And yeah, the touch beep, that's what that is. I just thought it would be useful for testing it out, but let me calibrate it again because yeah, I think that's a little better. All right. I mean, it's working really, really well. Yeah, I mean, just whatever I'm using here, stylus, fingers, whatever, it's pretty darn accurate. Yeah. It's just, there's a bit of weirdness, right? Because of, there's like a depth. So if I'm really looking at it at a slight angle where I'm sitting, and you can see, I mean, there's like a half inch or so between the surface and the actual display of the monitor, so things don't always line up exactly right. If I get it really head on to where I'm at, maybe that would help a little. Yeah, kind of. It's still slightly off for all these little tiny UI elements. Obviously, Windows 95, 98 is not optimized for touch. This would make so much more sense on anything that is optimized for touch. But yeah, like grabbing these cards and stuff like this, I mean, yeah, this is great. Clearly, this is made for solitaire and nothing else. Oh yeah, so when you've got these larger elements like that, this just makes so much sense. But when you're trying to individually, like, I just want to hit the, okay, there you go, it kind of works. The only other thing it comes with is this right here, this swap left and right mouse button. And all that literally does is it makes it so that whenever you need the right mouse button, you just tap over there. And I think it'll just stay, yeah, it just stays on top. If you do the whole dragging around and then kind of tap, that seems to work a little better. Yeah, like this. Yeah. Yeah. Takes a little getting used to. All right, well, you know, one thing that we've got to test, just for the sheer silliness factor, and also because id Software is now based in Richardson, Texas, the same as Keytech, or where they were anyway. All right, so this is interesting here. So I have it set to move with the mouse. So yeah, we can do not very sensitive actually, movements here, but we can't actually shoot, which are, you know, you normally left click to shoot, which you can do with the keyboard. But yeah, it won't actually accept the inputs for any DOS programs, this or anything else that I've tried. So for however the system is actually, or you know, the Magic Touch is set to send clicking commands through Windows or the Windows driver, it doesn't translate into DOS, even though this is running still under Windows, you know? And also I did say that there were some DOS drivers that were out there, and I tried them out. Unfortunately, that doesn't work either. It just says controller error. There's nothing that actually seems to, I don't know, let me start up the thing. Like, it came with this and this Hercules video card something or other thing. I have no idea why I did find this other one though. This is not necessarily for this, but it came with another file. IMDET. It doesn't detect it either. Whatever DOS drivers that I've found do not work with this particular thing, or maybe they just don't come with the right files, so that's unfortunate. Like I said, though, I'm pretty sure this is not the exact right version for this exact Magic Touch. So if anybody actually has some DOS drivers, the heck is going on? Some DOS drivers for a Magic Touch, please upload to Internet Archive. I'd love to try them. So it seems like you can only get clicking if you're under Windows or running a Windows program. So let's try this here, which, come on. It should let me play the game completely with the mouse. Haha, all right. It's kind of working. It's like it doesn't always want to click though. How strange. Put that sensitivity way up. Okay. It just doesn't seem to respond very well to these clicks in these games, if at all. What mode do I have now? Let's try it not in liftoff mode. I'm thinking maybe that the click is just, it's such a momentary signal that it's sending. It's definitely better if I hold it down first.
Careful where you're driving, dude.
I'll try my best. All right, that's working way better. Heck yeah. Good grief. Yeah, this is working just fine. So that liftoff mode was definitely screwing this one up. It's still a little strange in the menus, you know, but like, yeah, so whatever it is in Doom that's causing it to not work, that's definitely, I don't know, how does the mouse click work in DOS? Like an interrupt or a BIOS call or something? That should work though. Nope. Yep. Oh my goodness, look at that. What's going on here? Ooh. It's just jumping around all kinds of locations. Okay. Nope. That's still insane. Look, I'm not surprised that isn't working with games. It's clearly not meant for that. I just like to try it because it's what I do. Oh, geez. Yeah. At the same time, though, I mean, hey, look at that. We can click and we can fire. So, amazing. Now, this might work well. We'll see. Yeah, actually, I just mostly wanted to hear the music again. Put it down to a lower resolution because that might scale the UI better. Oh, I gotta restart. I'm probably just gonna listen to the soundtrack the rest of the day, to be honest. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, the larger UI will assist. Of course, the lack of right mouse button being very easily doable is a little bit of a shame, but hey, so far so good. And we got the tools like this for moving around, so. This is great. Dude, come on now. Yeah, it's still just a little bit iffy with the way the clicking is working or not working. But man, how exciting. Touchscreen SimCity. Yeah, like that. It's a bit iffy. Oh my gosh. Oh boy. Oh boy. All right, well, everything is residential now. Even the trash. Residential trash. It's so close to being great. It's just, everything is slightly off. And you know, I've calibrated it, I don't know how many times. Sometimes the clicks work, sometimes they don't. it's so good and yet disappointing, because I can see why this is awesome if you really tailor your software for it. You know, this is made for interfaces with big old chunky, like, you know, big buttons, just like an ATM or whatever. A few things here and there, and it works probably pretty perfectly for that. For just sort of retrofitting a Windows PC and hoping that your software is going to work with it. I mean, yeah, for the most part it does. And I am getting used to it, but it's also like, it's just not ideal either. Like in Presto Mr. Photo here, like if all these elements were just a bit larger, I mean, these actually on the side are kind of about right, but like these down here, they're just small and iffy enough to not really work. At the same time though, for what it's offering, the fact that it's like 95% there, and you know, maybe there's different versions of software that improve the clicking or some way to adjust that I'm not seeing here, because this doesn't make a difference to that. And then there's like double click speed, that's not what I'm talking about. But anyway, yeah, it's just for what it is, it's still so cool. Yeah, I suppose that is enough reflecting on the Magic Touch from Keytech. A delightful early to mid 90s thing here for personal computers that honestly, it makes a whole lot of sense now that I've used it, as long as you're using it in a way that works. Now, obviously, I always go for the sillier angle when testing these things on this series, but you know, if you stick to its suggested applications of education and training, business, industrial, general public access, and personal use for things like graphics creation, pen computing, interactive edutainment programs, web surfing, home security, yeah, why not? As long as your UI elements aren't too small and it makes it really annoying, then it's perfectly fine for all those things. And really, it still completely makes sense to do something like this. If you already have a display that is not touchscreen and you really just don't want to invest in an all new one, which at this point, overall, they've gotten so much cheaper that I don't know how many people would go for like converting a regular panel over to touch, as opposed to just getting a touch one nowadays. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you have done this in the modern day, you know, used any of the newer ones of these, because I'm genuinely curious how common that is at all. But you know, the fact that they're continuing on with this even now, they've just updated the interface, and of course the capacitive touch now and multi-touch is much more of a thing in their newer ones, but it's the same basic idea, right? So there's got to be something here considering they're still going. Certainly not something I can say for every Oddware episode. Usually there's something there, but the idea was half-baked. This one, the idea is pretty much fully there. It's sort of the physical limitations, you know, the gap problem between the Magic Touch and your display wouldn't be a problem really on an LCD, because it's going to be much closer to it and thus feel more accurate. Anyway, that's pretty much it for this Oddware episode. Again, let me know your experience if you have any with these things down in the comments below. And as always, thank you for watching.